Hello Year 6, Miss Woodhill here again with your next instalment of Rooftoppers. Now before we start today we need to talk about that unfamiliar tricky word that we came across yesterday, lugubrious. Now I got stuck on that word, I think I probably pronounced it wrong. If any of you checked the meaning in a dictionary, you will know that it means to appear sad or dismal. So a lugubrious sort of fate, a sad or dismal sort of fate. That's what that word meant. Shame Mrs. Pick wasn't there, she would have known straight away. Anyway, we will carry on with chapter 7. The obvious problem did not occur to Sophie until she was standing next to Charles in the Gare du Nord with her cello case clutched to her chest. The English porter from the train was watching the sky. "It's due to storm again soon. I hope you've brought umbrellas." Charles said, "I'm an Englishman. I always have an umbrella. I would no more go out without my umbrella than I would leave the house without my small intestine." "Then I'd get yourself up to your hotel before the hour's up, sir. I don't like the look of the sky." It was then that the problem occurred to Sophie. It startled her that she had not thought of it before, but she had not, in the rush, imagined further than the English border control. "Charles," she said, "where are we going to sleep?" "Very good. And," she interrupted, "and also, what are we going to do next?" "Very good questions both," Charles said. "The first is easy. The undertaker was very helpful. He recommended a good little hotel near the River Seine." He hefted his briefcase. "We'll take a taxicab." There was a row of carriages waiting by the train station. They varied in smartness. Some had interesting bits of carriage gut hanging down underneath, and others gleamed and smelt of carbolic soap. There was one painted grey and silver that Sophie liked immediately. The horse matched the carriage, and its face was thinner and wittier than the others. It looked like Charles, though Sophie decided not to say so. "Can we take this one?" Sophie held out her last slither of chocolate to the grey mare. "The horse looks like he's bored." "Of course." Charles handed the driver some coins, and the man began to load the carriage with their sparse luggage. "I must say French horses are very good looking," said Charles. "Paris is making me feel that I should brush my hair." Sophie looked about at the trees towering over the buildings and the cobbled streets curling off in every direction. The women's skirts hung differently to those in London. The women seemed to glide somehow as though they were underwater. "Yes," she said, "I know what you mean. Even the pigeons are more chic than in London." She found her insides were shivering in that way they did before Christmas. She said, "And when we've got to the hotel, then what will we do?" "Then we are going to find a bakery, Sophie, and we are going to make a plan." "Why a bakery?" "I was thinking more like a police station or a post office or a mayor's hall. The most important part of planning is having something to eat. There would be fewer wars if prime ministers ate donuts at government meetings." "And then," she said, "and then what?" "And then," said Charles, "we go hunting." High up above the Seine, 30 feet up in the air, a pair of brown eyes was watching the street below. They watched a buggy pull up to the Hotel Bost and a girl clamber out. The eyes noted the twitch in the girl's fingers, the tense excitement in her shoulder blades. They saw her biting her teeth together in determination and dragging a cello chest off the cart, and watched her jump back, flustered, out of the path of a motor car. The eyes saw her anxiously open the case and pull out the instrument and check it front and back, and then squat on the pavement and pluck out a thrumming tune with her finger and thumb. The sound was soft and almost drowned by the traffic below, but the brown eyes flickered as though impressed. I wonder who those brown eyes belong to. That's the end of chapter 7. It was short, wasn't it? Should we have another one? Let's read chapter 8. The plan Sophie and Charles made was of necessity. Simple. Sophie wrote it out on a scrap of paper. 1. Find Rue Charlemagne. 2. Sophie's pen hesitated over 2. Then she drew a large question mark. She underlined it in red ink and put the list in her pocket and went to find Charles. Charles's room was nice, though you would not call it smart. There were 2 spindly chairs on which a succession of bottoms had left their mark, and 2 rugs on which a good deal of expense had been spared. Even the bedside candles looked second-hand, but the linen smelt of lavender. The wind was blowing from the river, and the air was brackish. Sophie had never felt so much at home in a hotel. Usually they gave her the shivers. The hotel itself was a tall, gangly building, sandwiched between two more imposing blocks of apartments. It was cheap because, as Sophie had just discovered, there was no indoor toilet, only a wooden box in the garden, but apart from that, it was perfect. From the window, thin streets and pavement cafes wove away from them down towards the river. Sophie sat on Charles's bed and bounced. Above the bed there was a painting of a man in a beard that curled at the point. "I like his beard," she said. "He could use it as a paintbrush." Charles looked up, startled. "What?" Then he laughed. "Did you find the bathroom?" "Yes. We're sharing it with a family of spiders, though, and there's a bird's nest in the ceiling joint. I quite like it." "Good. Shall we go and explore your room? Let me carry your case." "No? As you wish." Sophie's bedroom was in the attic of the hotel. There wasn't much to explore. The doorway was so small that Charles stayed outside and let her go in alone. Once she had set down her cello case, there was barely any room to stand. "Look," she said. The walls were covered in ink sketches, arranged higgledy-piggledy to pick up the most possible light, and they were done in quick black strokes. They looked like they were fidgeting in their frames. "I like these. They look French." "They look like music," said Charles. He tucked his head into his neck and peered in further. Then, "No window?" "Skylight," said Sophie. A tiny four-poster bed was hung with white cotton at the sides and open at the top. There was a window set into the slanting roof. Looking up, Sophie realised that the reason Charles hadn't seen it immediately was that it was so thickly encrusted with bird droppings on the outside that it matched the white ceiling. "Do you think it opens?" he said. "I can think of only one way to find out." Charles edged his way into the room and laid his newspaper on the bed. He set his feet on the newspaper and prized open the catch. The window did not open when he pushed, nor when he jabbed at the hinge with his umbrella. "Rusted hinge," he said. "Easily solved. It's not painted shut, so it shouldn't be a problem." "Do you think the hotel will have some oil?" "It's unlikely, but we'll find you some oil tomorrow." "Thank you." She stood on the bed and squinted through the gaps in the pigeon mess. She could see red chimney pots and blue sky. "My heart feels too large for my body," she said. "It all feels so familiar, Charles, and I don't know why. It does, though. Do you believe me?" "Paris?" "Yes, sort of. Maybe I was actually thinking the chimney pots. They look familiar, and they're such a good colour." Charles was a scholar, and scholars, he always said, are made to notice things. He must have heard in her voice how much she wanted to be alone, because he strode swiftly to the door. "I'll leave you to explore. 30 minutes, Sophie, and then we'll find a map and get ourselves to the Rue Charlemagne. If it's near the river, it can't be far from here." That's the end of chapter 8. Next time, Mrs. Brinley will be here to read chapter 9 to you. In the meantime, stay busy, be good, and I'll see you soon. Bye.